It's 10 o'clock. We'll call our mid-month meeting to order and all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Father, Lord, we just give thee thanks this morning, Lord, for life, all the blessings that comes with it that you provide us with, Lord. We pray, Lord, you give us our guidance to go through our meeting as we need to be, and we pray for our country, our leaders, Lord, our military and our veterans. Watch over and take care of those folks, guide them, give them the knowledge they need, make the right decisions. Lord, we also pray for the Richardson family this morning. Passed away suddenly yesterday morning, Don Richardson, for his family. Watch over us, go with us. We give thee all the praise and all the glory, Lord, for these blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Everybody's looked over the agenda.
No change. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Everybody's looked over the minutes from the 5/18 meeting. If so,
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
the motion and second. Any discussion? If not, raise your right hand. All in favor? 5-0. Public comment. If anyone has anything to say from the... Yes, sir, come right up.
I'm Hugh Shepherd. I live out at Glade Creek, eastern end of the county. I wanted to thank the board members that supported the recent fire tax vote, the board members that support these volunteers in these fire departments. I appreciate it. This may not be the time or the place, but we got some people on our board that's having health issues, and those that have the worth of prayer, ask you to remember our board chairman. We've got one board member in Cook doing therapy. Our fire chief has got to have a knee replacement this month. So if you will, keep all those folks in your prayers. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for what you do, sir. Amen.
Anyone else? Not seeing any more. We'll close the public comment. Move on down to the phlebotomy presentation.
Way to make it big. It's because there's supposed to be words across there. I'm not sure what's happened. Okay. Okay. So this morning I wanted to introduce our Authentically Allegheny website. We've been working with Kate Irwin to kind of update this site and make it to where it really fits the needs of our community. This site's going to continue to evolve. We're going to be adding things as we go. As you can see here, and I'm not sure where the wording is, but these pictures, of course, were on the old website, and they said things like, we don't have, like fishing's not a, I'm sorry, gosh, is it, we don't make keepsakes, we make, what was that saying? Do you remember that? Yeah, thank you. So what we did was we went back through and we changed it to, all the pictures should say, this is like authentic arts, authentic, there we go, authentic, if you'll scroll up, just there we go. So this is authentic arts, and within each one, as it changes, and if you'll click, is there an arrow there on the corner? There we go. Authentic music, click again please, authentic relaxation, and it goes back to authentic views. And what that does on the home page, it just cycles through. So we changed the language a little bit up there to have just a real positive note to it. As I'm going to take you through a few of the pages, you're going to see that we have utilized all the assets that were there before. Those were all the assets that you paid for and have actually been many very well spent. The website has and will continue to tell the story of Allegheny. We want that, of course. We want people to know who we are. We've also broadened the scope of our messaging to appeal to visitors, to draw them to Allegheny County, to encourage them to return, and then also influence them to make Allegheny their home. So as we look through the layout, you're going to see kind of the big picture of tourism, but what it all kind of funnels down to is that this would also be a great place to live. So if you'll scroll up a little, please. We have the main 6 categories: music and art, places to stay, things to do, calendars, dining and more, shopping, retail. Just for an example, can you click on dining and more, please? Scroll up. So what we have here is we showcase all of our places to dine, our breweries, our wineries, everything is on that page. Try to make that look as good as we can with their logos and with their contact information. Okay, if you'll go back up to the top, please. Let's click on all the way up to the top, things to do. Top right-hand corner, and go down to outdoors. You can see we've still used the woodcuts that were part of the original Authentically Allegheny. We want to continue to use those kind of as a backdrop for this website and for other things that we do around Authentically Allegheny. But this talks about our national parks, talks about the Blue Ridge Parkway, Krause Park, Dalton Park. So it highlights everything that surrounds us: recreation, get outside mountain relay. What all of this is mostly is to attract tourism, and again, hopefully they'll come here, they'll visit, and they'll want to make this, make Allegheny their home. Best thing about this new website is that it is mobile responsive, which means that you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, and it all kind of shrinks down to the size of your screen and is easy to find information. You just scroll through. There's a menu, which enabled us to get to be able to kind of drop if you all remember, there was an app, the Authentically Allegheny app. So by doing this mobile responsive site, we are able to get rid of the app, which is not only a huge savings money-wise, but it's also a huge savings in efficiency and time. This way we can keep things more current. There's only one site to update, so it will definitely be much more efficient. 8 is adding at the very top of this page on how to actually make this website an app on your phone. Now when I say that is they can just go to how to add the website as a small little picture on your smartphone, so it looks like an app, but when you push on it, it goes straight to the website. And it's free to everyone and free to us, so again, a huge savings. We've also done, we did a lot of conversations and a lot of research with other people who've had those types of apps, and they feel that as long as you have a mobile responsive site, there is no need for one. Let's look around just for a few more, and then we'll go. If you'll go back up, please. Scroll up. And let's go to places to stay. Again, that just highlights all the places that we have here, short-term rentals for everyone who wants to come visit. And then we'll take a look at one more thing, if you'll go back to the home page. And scroll up, all the way up. Going. So here, what we've done is we've added the schematic that tells why Allegheny is a good place to call home. We've also added a day in Sparta, North Carolina, which is a video. We've added videos around our healthcare system, around the Blue Ridge Parkway, around our music scene, and also around our soil and water conservation. So we will continue to add those types of videos to the website as we go, whatever we feel is pertinent, relative to people who are wanting to visit and live in Allegheny County. Like I said, we are still making a few updates here and there, but we do want to emphasize that the fact that the overall theme is tourism leading to a great place to live. So anyone have any questions?
Good job.
Looks good.
Wonderful. Erwin, definitely, she's put a lot of work into this, and we've spent a lot of time trying to, like I said, we want this to tell the story of Allegheny County, not only to the people who live here, but the people who are wanting to visit and make their home here. And so we don't want to leave anyone behind, and sure don't want to leave anyone out as they look for a new home. So.
How often do you update?
Oh, it could be daily, it could be weekly, monthly. It just depends on what information's out there as things change. Sometimes we ask, Kate to make updates 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes it'll go a month before we have to make an update.
I was just wondering about restaurants and the hours and how many people can come in.
Oh, yeah.
and-
Oh, yeah. So right now, all of that is on our chamber website. We have like a chart that mentions all that, their hours. We're constantly updating that, of course, because that changes almost on a weekly basis. But we are trying to keep people informed, kind of what our businesses are doing. Our chamber website also has a lot of the shops on there where they can shop local. And so I think that's something to think about, too, is how much we want on the chamber side and how much we want on Authentically Allegheny side, how much we want them to overlap. So a lot of that information is on our chamber site when it comes to businesses. But I think that as we move forward and as this website evolves, those are things that we also need to be thinking about. How much do we want them to be similar? How do we want them to be different as far as, this is appealing more to visitors and maybe our chamber site appeals more to locals and to their businesses. So I think it's definitely something that we need to consider, how much we want them to mirror each other. But I really am very pleased with the authentic views and the authentic message. Again, just staying true to who we are.
Lisa, would there be, you were just talking about some of the information maybe being on the chamber and some being here. Is there a link, an easy link between the two? Well, like if someone wants to go deeper and find some deeper questions that they may
Sir.
to go to the chamber?
Yes, on the chamber website, we have a link to Authentically Allegheny, and also the calendar of events that's on this page links to that calendar that's on our chamber. So there is definitely links between the two.
Okay.
So, sure. Anything else?
Very eye-catching,
All right,
nice,
great.
nice views there.
Yeah, we live in a beautiful place for sure. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to skip the EMD status update. The sheriff's not with us today. Move on down to general business. Cox.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm here this morning about a shortfall with one of our grants. We usually wouldn't find out until later on into the fall, but they seem to have given us a little notification early this year. I put together some notes so that I make sure that I cover everything, and if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm here today seeking the approval to use county monies to partially fund grant deputy positions. The funding percentage is 85% Crime Commission and 15% county funds. That translates to $93,138.91 of Crime Commission monies paid out by the state and $16,600 county funds. This gets us 2 full-time sworn positions, which is used as 1 patrol deputy sheriff and 1 detective. This is an upcoming grant that will begin October 1st, 2020 and would end September the 30th, 2021. So it does cross 2 future grant cycles for the county. I also want to remind you of how critical these positions are. And since 2015, the county has received approximately $1.1 million of grants through the Department of Justice by the Governor's Crime Commission that have supported these particular deputies that are in question today, among other projects. I want to remind you that grants are not designed to supplant county budgets. Grants are specifically designed to fund much-needed projects. This particular project is designed to fund 2 full-time deputies, which is 1 deputy, 1 detective, that have received numerous hours of specialized training and have years of experience in cases such as domestic and dating violence, human trafficking, sexual assaults, and stalking. A number of these cases since 2015, since implementation, have been 961. Many of these cases are dangerous, requiring multi-deputy responses. They are very time-consuming, and some may even take weeks to investigate. These 2 positions are not only critical for these specific types of crime, but they free up county-funded deputies to perform all the other necessary functions of the sheriff's office. I have prepared just a few of the statistics from the past couple of years to inform you of some of the volume of workload our deputies are performing. So I have combined the 2018, 2019 stats. We received 18,286 calls for service. That has averaged 25 calls per day. There's been 2,060 arrests, 790 drug cases, 64 involuntary commitments. We've served 2,007 civil process papers. There's been 31,753 business checks performed, 1,518 cases investigated, and 399,273 miles that the deputies have patrolled during these 2 years. So these guys, they work hard. There's a lot going on, and every position is critical, obviously, to us. In closing, I want to be clear that we are not trying to add any positions. We're just hopeful to keep the ones that we have. Have any questions? I have talked to Mr. Carter.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
Can you get us a copy of those stats that you read off?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I talked to Mr. Carter as soon as I found out about the shortfall. We've had some brief conversations, and maybe there's some hope that there's some possibilities to work together to maybe make this go through, but I'll let him communicate anything that add.
Nick and I talked about it. I explained to Nick that here we are in June, and we're looking at, upcoming, but I feel like that the additional funds needed to cover the shortfall, I think we'll recognize those in the upcoming budget.
Chairman, I've got some comments.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you come to us and you ask us if we can come up with this money. Yet, we've asked for an update of the E9 or the EMD. Sheriff's not here to answer questions. I'm going to read to you from Sessions Law 2019-200. As of 1 July 2021, police telecommunications must meet the training requirements in General Statute 17E. PSAPs must accept text to 911 no later than 1 July 2020. We do that? We can't answer that.
Can I speak on some of that?
No.
Okay.
We asked the sheriff to come here. He was given the opportunity. He doesn't even show. PSAPs must implement plans to migrate to state SENet on or before 1 July 2020. We've got requirements here that is state law. We don't know the status.
I can speak to why the sheriff's not here this morning. We're
Please,
mourning the loss of a detention officer that passed away just after covering a shift Saturday night, Sunday morning. So I know that the sheriff was going out to be with the family. We had some things initially prepared for this, and due to that, he wasn't able to make it this morning. But I can tell you, because I was in on some of the conversation with the PSAP, that I know that we are on target to get the mandatory EMD certifications for all of our communications officers by that time, so we will be compliant. And I actually spoke to Drew this morning about this, and he will be set up for y'all's next meeting. But things are still on track, and would have been here this morning. I think he had 2 things he was going to speak on, but due to the detention officer that we lost, he went on to be with
Well,
family.
I certainly understand that, and you were very successful in making me feel like a north end of a southbound jackass. However, Mr. County Manager, were you notified why the sheriff wasn't going to be attending today?
Was this morning.
You were?
Was this morning.
I appreciate that knowledge prior. Big thing that I will support the money. That is no problem. But at the same time, we have got state requirements that are coming in. We as a board, we've got to look at that. I worry because we have lack of knowledge whenever we've got these requirements that are coming in. And I encourage you, please let us know. Keep us updated. Whenever we went, just so that the public will understand my angst on this, we went with a mandatory establishment of a secondary PSAP. We sat on our hands until we realized that we had 30 days to meet the requirements. Now, fortunately, we were able to get a year's extension, but nobody said a thing. We sat on our hands again, and we finally got an $830,000 investment by this county to set up a secondary PSAP. We turned it on 2 minutes before midnight. If we had gone past that deadline, there was a possibility that we would have lost our 911 tax funds. We've got a history in this county of sitting on our derriere, sitting on our hands, and not following the guidelines that we are being given. The county manager wasn't aware of that. And just to let the county, citizens of Allegheny County know, not only did we meet the guidelines, we set it up in a closet with no environmental, no air conditioning, no heat. The installers came up and took away the warranty because we had exceeded the environmental standards, because the county commissioner, the county manager at that time didn't feel necessary to put HVAC into the room. $800,000, $600,000 of it was equipment, and we sat on our rear end and don't even take into account the environmental needs of the equipment, so we lost the warranty. Fortunately, we've had no failures. Everything's good right now. Now, based on that history, I worry whenever we start meeting guidelines, whenever we have definite dates that we do not meet. It's just like a courthouse. The state of North Carolina is going to get rather short-tempered whenever we keep on giving the excuse that it just slipped past us. Thank you for your service, and in these trying times, please pass to your department our condolences on the loss of a member. And this trying times, law enforcement doesn't get the respect that you deserve. No one realizes, apparently anymore, that you don't deal with those citizens that are nice and upstanding. Most of the people that you deal with are the north end of a southbound jackass. They're danger. Every time you walk up to the side of a car, you don't know if you're going to be greeted with a smile or a 38 in the face. You aren't paid enough. You're not given enough credit. You're not given enough respect as a general. Unfortunately, those bad apples that are in the midst all of the world down upon you. There's nothing you can do about it. God bless you, and thank you for the job that you're doing. But please, let us know. I worry about this. We've stretched the limits too far. We really have.
Can I add just a little bit more?
It's up to the chair.
I don't have all the stuff in front of me this morning. I can just tell you from memory a few of the things. And again, the sheriff will be here for the next meeting. I do know that COVID messed up a lot of this stuff on the beginning. Now, they still was able to, so the folks at PowerPhone, which is stationed in Boston, are not allowed to come down here right now. What they have done, they've adapted, just like so many other things have adapted during this time. They sent us a program that mimics what we've purchased for the EMD dispatch software. They sent out links. All the dispatchers have began or most of the way through, and some have completed. Some will complete tomorrow, and then the last group will complete in the next week prior to the deadline. So we will be fine. We will meet all the mandatory certifications that we have to have. As far as the program software itself, they sent us down a link. We are able to download that link into our 911 room. They are actually using that system right now. The difference between that system and the system they got to come and put on our servers is the communication with the CAD. So they are actually able to use it right now, and they are using it right now. So,
What's your protocol if you have a 911 call and then you get a second 911 call? My fear is if you're on an EMD call, you've got one dispatcher. This is going to be a prolonged call. You've got to tell them what to do to clear the obstruction out of the throat of a young child. Mm-hmm. You've got a 911 call coming in for a robbery. How do you, with one dispatcher there, you can't handle those two calls. So in the future, are we going to be looking at increasing the dispatcher population in the county?
we request it every year. We have been requesting it, but this year I think the conclusion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we had long discussions about 4 positions and about the additional seat. By the time that the budget was approved, the positions are not in the budget, and the equipment for the second seat is still in the budget, correct?
Correct.
So we are asking each and every year, and have been each and every year, but to the county manager's point about the equipment, we had those conversations. It is my understanding that throughout this year, that second seat will come in, and then next year, July 1, there's hopefully going to be a move by this board to implement a portion of those 4, whether it be 2 or 4, I don't know. But we're going to request 4. Y'all give us what you can give us, I guess.
Thank you for making my point. But are you hearing any rumblings about the state giving us some funding to help us out on that?
On the personnel?
Personnel.
No, I've not heard anything about funding for personnel. We're always looking for some type of way, whether it be through a grant opportunity or whatever. We're always trying to look for a way to support funding. So, unfortunately, I've not found anything that will specifically cover 911 telecommunicators.
They demand, but they don't come up with the funds. This seems to be the track record. Mr. Chairman, that's all the questions that I have. Thank you for your indulgence. And again, my condolences to your department, and thank you for your service to the country.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Need a motion on this to, okay.
Chairman, if you don't mind, I would like to. Don't think that we actually, the threat of losing our warranty was the impetus for putting the HVAC system in where the backup call center was. So I don't recall actually the warranty going away.
Warranty.
May be wrong, but I know that came up as discussion, but I just wanted to point that out.
It is OBE, overcome by events anyway, because the equipment was warranted for 1 year, and the 1 year is over with. We haven't lost any equipment. They had warned us 3 times that I'm aware of two of which that they notified me. The county manager was notified, and we were derelict in getting it in a timely fashion. But we were running, if we didn't lose the warranty, we were running pretty doggone close of doing it. There was not a sense of humor from the installing company because they would have had to have done a repair. So that, it's a track record that we've got, Mr. Chairman, and I think that we've got to stay on top of these things. Classic example, whenever we had our meeting with the judges. Judge Doughton stated that 5 years after we had remodeled the courthouse, it was leaking like a sieve. Your Honor, is that an accurate statement? We had a warranty on that. We had a warranty on that, but the county didn't enforce it. We just let it go. Now we have major damage at a courthouse that we haven't even finished paying off the loan on. Mr. Chairman, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys' work. Next is Workforce Development Board appointment. Harrison Wagner, I believe, would make a good appointment to take that seat. He's expanded upon his business and doing very well, and I'd like to throw his name out there for a appointment for that board. Make a motion to that, to appoint Garrison to the board.
Who?
Harrison Wagner.
Second that.
It's a motion to appoint.
Garrison Wagner to the Workforce Development Board.
I was just waiting for her to get it up there.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Chairman, I would like to inquire as to, I think our last time we discussed this, we tabled it to appeal to the workforce development to the state. Did that process play out? Did we get an answer?
Yes, the county manager has a copy of my letter that I sent to the state of North Carolina. They have not returned any of the 5 phone calls that I've made. They have not returned any of the emails that I have sent them. And as far as I'm concerned, the state government is just, they're working from home. Their website and whenever you make a phone call, they tell you that they're working from home on account of COVID-19 and will get in contact with you whenever they can. It's now been 6 weeks. Nobody's gotten in contact with me, so I think I'm beating a dead horse, and I have no objection since this seat will become available at the end of June to appoint Mr. Wagner.
Further discussion? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. I vote. Thank you. Transfer station hours.
Chairman, I can handle that. At a previous board meeting, you adopted new hours for the transfer facility. And in getting closer to that point, I've mentioned to you some alteration to that. Basically, what that alteration is the listed hours are Monday through Wednesday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Thursday, we originally had 12 to 7, but we wanted to bring that back to 10 to 7. By doing that on Saturday, when we are open 8 to 12, we can operate that facility with 1 employee. Now, the catch to Saturday is that we make it residential only. So that is what I would like to request. Friday stays the same, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
You need a motion. Do you need a motion? I would so move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the transfer station hours as quoted. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. I vote. Thank you.
And I would add that needs to be publicized as much as Maybe the chamber can put it on their link, put it on our link. People just need to know,
Right.
especially me. I visit that place twice a week, I think.
Moving on down, Fire and Rescue Association, this was tabled from our 6-1 meeting. You got anything on that?
No, as I stated on the June 1st meeting, we feel that we need an advisory board to the county commissioners made up hopefully of retired fire and rescue chiefs so that we can possibly prevent duplication of equipment. Our expertise is not in fire and rescue. Know that I've felt inadequate on a number of meetings that I've had at the Fire Commission because I don't know the minutia. Me, just as an example, it is accepted by the volunteer firemen that they have to have a 1,000-gallon tank whenever they leave the firehouse for a fire because we don't have any way of filling them around the county. So that limits the equipment that they can purchase. Most of them are purchasing used equipment. Most of the equipment that is used is coming from municipalities. Municipalities have fire hydrants, so their first out is going to carry 500 gallons. So now we have got a requirement to purchase equipment of 1,000 gallons, but there's very little of it out there, which means that does come available, carries a premium. That's just an example. What we are looking at, a fire and rescue association would be able to fill in those gaps that the commissioners have whenever we started getting requests for the reserve funds that we anticipate. So I feel that it is necessary and would recommend that my fellow commissioners vote to establish.
I think that's an important part of this process is to form this association and make a motion to accept that and form the association.
Second to motion, sir.
Motion and second, any discussion? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Vote. Okay. Next up is remote participation, as also tabled from our 6-1 meeting, 1st of June. Anybody have any updates on that or feelings towards it?
Well, Chairman, if I may.
Right ahead.
Our policy manual, rules of procedures that we voted on in December of 2019, all meetings within the county. All meetings shall be held within the boundaries of the Allegheny County except as otherwise provided herein, and there's 2 exceptions, but it's mostly dealing with state legislature. This is an area that I don't think the state of North Carolina has adequately covered. I don't think our rules of procedures cover either, because the official meeting of the board is defined as any gathering together at any time or place or the simultaneous communication by conference, telephone, or other electronic means of a majority of board members for the purpose of conducting hearings, participating in deliberations, or voting upon or otherwise transacting public business within the jurisdiction, real or apparent, of the board. So, to me, as I read the minutia, if I have to participate in a meeting, I must be in the boundaries of Allegheny County.
Provided to you a School of Government bulletin that again says that the area is not as clear as it could be. It does seem to be permissible for commissioners to participate remotely for the purpose of discussion, but not for votes and not for constituting a quorum.
I think you could vote, you just couldn't be in the majority. You couldn't, the language around, it didn't say you could not vote at all. which brings in a little bit more ambiguity in trying to figure out exactly how your vote's going to be looked at. But there was some language of voting
There was
in that.
some discussion about whether or not votes were permissible. It wasn't crystal clear that that could be done.
The
I
word
think the only
deciding, it couldn't be the deciding vote.
definitely could not be the deciding vote.
Could decide it either way. I mean, it couldn't, it couldn't be the third vote either way.
I also don't think that statute covers it, and I think law to say, I think that the bulletin discussed that the language was kind of like, we think that you can. There's nothing saying definitive. I guess my question to this board is, what are you wanting to do?
Well, I would answer that in saying this was with the environment that we just came through. My thoughts was, should we look at some option to where what are our options, what's available? And then, tying it back to what state law is, that kind of ties our hands unless they make changes. So essentially, we're doing what state law would allow us to do. As I participated in one, and that was because I was out of the area, a work session. But there were no votes taken. There were just a consensus taken a few times. But just thinking about the environment that we just came through, should that come again, do we need to have better tools in place or other options in place if they're available?
And I do think that the state will probably make because of the
I know they have done a lot of the same things, so I'm sure, I would hope that they would recognize it as being a challenge and opening it up somewhat. But that was my reason for wanting to bring the conversation. Where we came through this COVID-19, there were a few meetings that we didn't even have, and then when we did, it was to go through, and there maybe just little items that are needed, but they could be very important to our government, day-to-day processes and needing some decisions. I know it's challenging for them to be sitting there needing a board action, and we couldn't do it, or we didn't do it because of the COVID-19. So that was kind of my whole reason for wanting to look at all of our options and our language, and would like to monitor, I guess, what the state does and revisit this is where I'm at right now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the bulletin that is being referenced is local government law bulletin number 133 dated August of 2013. And it's ambiguous. And I sat probably 3 weeks ago in the Board of Elections and watched the General Assembly, a committee meeting, being held on Zoom. This law bulletin says you can't do it because it has not been specifically addressed by the state of North Carolina, but they are conducting business as we speak on Zoom. Until we get clarification, I don't know what the legalities are.
That's true. How come?
I will, after what we've been through, Commissioner Evans is correct. This is unusual times, and we've had to adapt. The legality of it is something that's got to be clear. We can go on and we can continue, but I'd hate for us to take an action and then suddenly find that it's been nullified by an action in the courts because the state of North Carolina hasn't addressed this.
need to have that as an option for just anytime somebody's out of the county, or do you want it only in emergency situations?
Only an emergency, I would imagine. The question will come if we need a quorum.
Are we governed by the state law as to the way that we hold our meetings and the procedures that we in place? Don't we have to wait for the state law to either change, modify the way that we can hold our meetings? Who decides what's an emergency? One person may say it's an emergency for whatever reason. Another person can say emergency doesn't apply.
I think it's clear if you have an emergency declaration in place.
If the governor,
Well, if the county even does it.
I mean, we've been able to meet every meeting. I think we had one that we postponed. We've met all the guidelines, social distancing, everything that's been required, by the governor. I don't want to make a change and then the state turn around and make a different change.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
here's, I'm going to read this from the bulletin number 133. 2008, the General Assembly enacted a local legislation authorizing Hyde County Board of Commissioners to conduct business using simultaneous communication, defined as conference, telephone call, or other electronic means. That was State Law 2008-111. It might be argued that the enactment of this law implies that such authority does not otherwise exist for counties or other local governments. Language in the act itself suggests that the legislature anticipated the possibility of this argument and took steps to prevent it. Now, we can get down and we can start arguing about how many angels can fit on the head of a pin, but eventually the courts are going to have to decide this, or the legislature's going to have to do it. Now, it goes on. Section 3.2 of the Act says, "Nothing in this Act shall be construed to affect the validity of the actions related to electronic meetings of any other public body."
I think I need to do some more.
That's why you are an honorary member of the bar, and I'm not.
We know a lot of counties are had their meetings Zoom and so forth, and so is the High Country Council of Government. They've been doing the same thing.
I think there's more out there than what we.
We just table this to you
Please.
investigate further and come back to us.
Will we be tabling indefinitely or to a specific date, Mr. Chairman?
When Donna researches and gets back to us.
Just put it on the next one.
Just a minute.
It's a motion, I second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Right in. Okay, moving on down. General fund
Wait
budget.
for Drew to get caught up.
General fund budget amendment number 17.
Chairman, may I ask if we take these in a different order than they're presented on
Yes,
your
sir.
agenda? Just to keep them sequential. So if we could go down to EIII, which is General Fund Budget Amendment number 15, and it is on page 7. Apparently, it will come up on the screen.
Fines and forfeitures.
I'll just have to read from it, but it is fines and forts in the amount of $14,000. This is just to, there's been an additional 14 received in. It's just an offset. You've received that money in. We want to put that back into the expenditures so that they can spend it accordingly. That's a pass-through budget amendment.
Motion on these.
Please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
Second one is number 16, which is also additional monies received from PEG from the state for ACTV in the amount of $21,000. Again, that's a pass-through.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
Next one is 17, which again, is, this is for additional DOT and fees for motor vehicle taxes collected in the amount of $4,800. It's a pass-through as well.
Motion to approve.
The motion, need a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
For 18, there's an amendment, General Fund Amendment 18, which is for the mandated portion of the school capital. Look on your page 9, see that there's $135,631 total, and that is, if you add the two revenue sales tax line items, that equates to the same. The county receives that in, it goes into the expenditures, so this is just a matter of housekeeping to transmit those funds.
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
And the last one, if I'm on my right page,
6.
Amendment 1. So this is Amendment 1 for the school capital fund. The monies we just talked about, those monies will come in as we just approved. They will go into the general fund through a journal, and then through a journal entry process will be moved over into the school capital fund that you see listed here. So we'll ask for that amendment to be approved as well.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Concludes the general business. Put on down the D, consent agenda. Miss Rita.
Good morning. Needed to give you the numbers for the license plate agency month-end report. We did not have those at the time I turned in the my report for today's meeting. In May, there were 947 transactions, which of course we were close to the public for part of that. There were no overage or shortage charges, and the compensation was $2,827.47. Got your vehicle tax and real and personal property tax refunds and releases. Any questions on any of those?
Chairman, I have no questions, and will make the motion that we approve the consent agenda, sir.
A motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
I didn't see it on the agenda, but I had it on the packet here. I just wanted to give you a update on our revaluation timeline. So our target date to get the schedule of values to the board for your review is October the 5th. There's a series of specific dates or days in between all the actions that take place after that. So the board and the public have the schedule of values on October the 5th. Then on 11/16 will be the date that I bring it to the board for adoption. Before that, there's a public hearing on November the 2nd. But I guess the most important two dates, October the 5th, schedule of values to the board and to the public, and February 1st, revaluation notices to our property owners. One other thing I just wanted to let you know, I got an email last Wednesday from Travis Isaacs at the Department of Revenue, and I'll just read this to you. It says, I loaded the file last night. They're talking about the fire district SIDUS file. Loaded the file last night, had just a couple of issues, easily corrected. Karina did a great job for you. You should be good to go. So Karina had we had to remove and reload all the 911 and road addresses into the VTS system. So she did that for me while I was working on getting the tax bill and everything situated. So just want you to know we should be good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment, anyone have any comments to make? Ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Beth Shaw, and I don't know if this is a public comment or just me being polite since I'm here in the room. But I actually live down in Elkin, but I'm running to represent this district, so I thank you for allowing me to join your meeting and learn about the details of things happening here, and I hope we will continue to have a lot of discussions because there's a lot of interesting things going on here and across the whole district. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Any manager comment? Mr. Carter.
Members of the board, you have two listed. The first one is your building inspection report on page 15. I encourage you to look that over. Second is just an announcement. There's a joint meeting with the town of Sparta, June 29th at 6 p.m. That'll be in this facility right here. I'll make sure we got those out. Actually got a few more that I've written down. The first one, in relation to the courthouse, I have a firm coming in this Wednesday at 10:30 to walk through and assess some of the concerns that we've identified within that facility. There will be a meeting of I'm calling the revised courthouse annex committee. That'll occur this Friday at 2 p.m. A call this morning, things happen, and sometimes you don't have the appropriate time to communicate it. There's some things that happened this morning. One of those things is the transfer facilities loader that apparently has gone down again over the weekend. I haven't had time to pull the lease arrangement. I really don't know what type of deal we entered into.
Did you say it's gone down again?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
From what I can gather, I've seen it before. The engine runs fine. It just won't move. They call it limp mode. So it's in this state right now, and the guys over there are working to try and get appropriate personnel back up there to look at it. But understand this is becoming a problem. So I want to let you know that. I'll know more about it later today.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a
Yes, sir.
question? That was under my comment section, so I'll just ask you right now. Talking to some of the people at the transfer station, there seems to be some type of confusion about the lease agreement as to best that I can recollect is when we agreed to this lease purchase, if the loader went down for a period of time, they couldn't fix it, they would replace that with a different loader. Has anybody looked at the warranty? Has anybody looked at the contract to see what their obligation is for the piece of equipment?
I'll be doing that after this meeting.
Okay.
Obviously, there should be a provision in there for that.
I mean, right now, they're using that little track hoe the best they can, and that's not desirable.
Well, it's an open cab to start with, and that's the least desirable. I'll hopefully be able to tell you more about it sometime later today.
Thank you.
Couple more. Just to go back and hit on the EMD thing. Budget committee met with the sheriff's department just as we did with every other department this year. And being my first time through, I learned a lot through this process. But on the EMD, it was brought up several times that there had been attempts to bring this to the forefront over the past few years. I can't account for that, but I can acknowledge that. So when we decided to look at it in both current, next, we looked at a phasing approach. Back in this year's budget, we took phase one, and basically that was to cover training and software. We've already implemented that. That's what I think Nick alluded to by being compliant. In phase 2, we talked about adding the equipment, which is a process that, what we had talked about was timing that to have all that ready. And then phase 3, of course, is to bring in the personnel once we establish what type of protocol we want to do. The committee and the sheriff's department was, and Nick can certainly correct me, or anyone else on that committee can correct me, but I think we were all excited that we were able to implement phase 1 and 2 and plan for phase 3 in the next upcoming budget. So I just want to mention that we put a lot of thought and different directions into that, and hopefully it will pay dividends. I just wanted to identify that.
Can I ask a question? Is the ultimate responsibility for this, does it lie with the sheriff's department? Who is the ultimate person responsible for seeing that this program is implemented on time?
I'm not the one to ask that because I don't know the answer, but I don't know if Nick or maybe Donna knows.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
EMD follows dispatch, PSAP, whatever we want to refer to it, is under the purview of the sheriff.
So, employees certainly are under our purview and scope. So the equipment has always been handled and managed, and I can go back in time because that's when I think there was more tower sites being fixed and things like that, and that was back to Don Adams times. They handled all that stuff down here. We handled the employees. We made sure that our employees were trained and certified through sheriff's training and standards, and we made sure that they used that equipment in there to handle these 911 calls. The equipment in that building, up until we purchased this power phone, we done that in-house this time, but everything until that moment has been purchased and handled through the administration building.
Through GSI, if I remember correctly. And Mr. Chairman, this is part of the problem that we've got. Equipment the county's responsible for. Part of it is paid for by 911 or 911 tax that we all pay on our house phone, our cell phones, and things of that nature. So equipment can sit there. It can't be operated. Now we've got two departments that are whenever we say, why isn't things happening, everybody's pointing at everyone else as part of the confusion in part. It's also going to be one of the reasons why I've already advised the county manager I'd like to look at this later on in the year about bringing it under the personnel and the equipment under the county management, so that we've got one person or one entity to go to on this. We could stack equipment until we can't see it in the clouds. But if we don't have personnel to operate it, there's nothing we can do. With the situation that the county's in financially, we can't afford the personnel. It gets right back to state mandates, but it doesn't provide any funds for us to operate on. It's who struck John on many fronts on this daggone mess. Now, one of the things that we've got a reprieve on a lot of this until 1 July of 2021. That's a year away. I've found that as I grow older, years get shorter. It will be upon us real quick. And we've got to start thinking about it now.
It
Thank you, Nick.
doesn't seem that complicated to have somebody responsible for the overall implementation of this project. It's either going to be the sheriff's department or it's going to be the county government. You know, I look at it, it's the sheriff's department. Now, I may be wrong, but I don't think that we as commissioners need to be dabbling into the way the sheriff's department runs his business or this new program. Either he's responsible, he takes over all the responsibility, he requests the product, the money he needs to buy the products he needs, he requests the personnel that he needs. Then it's up to the administration to either come up with the money or not. I don't like sharing responsibilities.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I hate to say it, but sheriff did his responsibility. He asked for the personnel. We said no. We provided the equipment. The equipment's in and ready to go, is it not, Nick? For EMD?
So the software EMD is there. There will be another phase of it coming as soon as the COVID.
But you requested the personnel so that you could operate EMD and 911 at the same time, and it's not in your budget, is it?
That was an initial request.
Right. The initial request, but we were forced to cut it out. So
Personnel, of course.
the county manager had to do that because of the financial situation that the county's in.
That is correct. And so what had happened was when we requested all of it, we asked for the EMD to get started first because of the mandate by July 1. That's going to happen. Then in this upcoming budget, to start out with, we requested the 4 positions and the equipment. We worked closely with the budget committee, and we come up with the plan that it's kind of smart to go ahead and get the equipment into this upcoming budget, and because that's going to be a process to get that done. Hopefully, we'll have that up and running by sometime in the winter. These companies work slow, and COVID don't help none.
Yeah.
So the plan was to have the second seat setting there, and then by early spring anyway, and then next year's budget would have those positions to occupy that seat.
All this came about because is it an unfunded mandate?
Essentially, yeah, it is. They require us to have certified emergency medical dispatchers. I think we are one of 4 or 6 counties. One of 4 or 6.
That
One of
is-
6
Mr.
counties in
Chairman,
Austin.
that is under state law 2019-214, subparagraph S 600. That's where the state has mandated it. Then they've also mandated that we started going over to the SENet. The SENet is going to be our backup. It's going to be the secondary PSAP. But we got problems with that because the state is now realizing that their revenue is going to be reduced by billions thanks to COVID-19. The rainy day fund is going to be depleted. The SENet, which would take away our requirement to have a secondary PSAP, is going to be on hold. So COVID-19 came out of China, and it is really disrupting not only the United States, but other places in the world. And it's just, it leaves a lot of questions. I don't know how we're going to come out of this.
Just want to add that the Budget Committee went through this process and with the Sheriff's Department and implemented about a 3-step program to get up and running and some personnel there and add to it, in which it keeps us in compliance all in the meantime.
And it also identifies a placeholder. You have the equipment line in your upcoming budget, and you know in your next proposed budget that you're going to have an equivalent number for personnel. So you've established a placeholder moving forward.
Worked out real well with our budget process and the situation we.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I agree with Bobby. I think, as long as it's under the sheriff, we provide the money for the equipment becomes your responsibility. I don't think we got staff that's going to deal with it, so.
That's all the comments I have, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on, Commissioner comments. Mr. Irvin, Bobby, or John, start on the end over there.
Which one of the other ones?
John.
Me?
Big John.
All right. I'd just like to point out one thing. Council on Aging, just to give you some idea of what we are facing with COVID-19. We are looking at the month of May. Council on Aging delivered 1,848 home-delivered meals in the month of May. 966 of those meals were for regular members. They have added 882 meals to new clients. 1,848 meals delivered in the month of May to elderly that cannot get out of the house due to COVID-19. Karen Edwards has also applied for another grant. This one will be for $1,000. There comes a time whenever they cannot deliver hot meals, so whenever they are doing these meal deliveries, they are delivering 5 shelf-stable meals in place of the hot meals, so that the elderly will have an opportunity to have food in their quarters. I can't say that we are our elder population is quite large in Allegheny County, since I now qualify. Most of the members of this board, all except for one, would qualify also. But we are in unusual times that you just can't plan for. Keep on muddling through, and by the grace of God, we will continue doing everything that we can. Thank you, Karen, for everything that you do, for caring for our elderly, and thank the good Lord that I'm not under your care right now. Mr. Chairman, that's all the information. That's all that I have, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Prince.
Since I'm probably the one that doesn't qualify for the senior assistance,
What are you talking about?
yeah. My concern for the county has always been garbage and trash. I think since we tried several times to pass a ordinance on that, I think we've got some areas that were our biggest concern have cleaned up. Whether it's a result of that or not, I don't know. But I'd like to see us at some point go back and readdress that. It's much of a safety issue. It is a visual problem issue. If we want to be a county to grow, we've got to make some changes. The comment is around the quarter-cent sales tax. We hope to get that on the vote this year, but we need the citizens to start thinking about where they buy stuff, the fact that they're already paying that when they shop outside the county. That's money that other people can help us pay our taxes with. I encourage you to think positively about that. We need to find a way to promote that, where you understand the exact effect of it. But that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Evans.
Just a kind of a question. Our 1st of July meeting, typically we will forego the first meeting in July? Where are we on that this year? Or is there a need? We've done that in the past.
So we tabled video stuff there for Donna to research till the next, which would fall for the next meeting. Whatever the board feels.
We're required to meet monthly. That's the only statutory requirement. Right.
The first meeting would be July the 6th,
Yeah.
That'd be after the 4th.
Monday.
We were asking for an update on the
In the conference call.
it's important to have a meeting 1st of July. For date, fly.
I'm good either way. If we've got county business to take care of, then we need to take care of it. If we don't have anything pushing,
As we do, I think we've got updates on the courthouse that we need to know about.
Amen.
I think we need to keep one on the schedule.
Concur with Mr. Prince.
Good with that.
I got a couple of things. One, the Fairgrounds Committee met the other day. Bill and I were there, and it was decided because of the governor's order that the fairgrounds would not be used for the Highway 21 event that's scheduled, I think, in July or sometime in July. So, because of the governor's order, lack of insurance being able to be purchased, because of the governor's order, we will not be opening the fairgrounds. At the ag meeting we had a day later, I believe, as of right now, the awards program is still scheduled for February of '21. We haven't picked the exact date. Looks like if we can have it, we'll probably print 330 tickets for participants. So if anybody's interested, as soon as we start getting the tickets out there, they need to let the people at the Ag, Soil and Water know about their desire for a number of tickets. We recently had to have a quote on a tree being removed at the Lions Club Pavilion. Personally felt that was very high price. I know it was an emergency. I don't know if they've done it yet. I think in the future, if at all possible, we should get a minimum of 2 or 3 quotes. I know we have a level, but that just seemed excessive to me. And the other one, at some point, I would like to know what's required of the fire departments to have a substation put out in the community as to amount of land that's needed, the size of a building, equipment, personnel. Because there's several gray areas in the county, and that would help those people with their insurance rates. Sometime in the future, if we could just have a report on what the requirements are. Thank you.
Bobby, I'd just like to touch on Authentically Allegheny. I thought they gave a good presentation, doing some fine work there and trying to put together and advertise Allegheny County. Let's thank Appalachian Health again. If it wasn't for those folks, we'd be in real trouble. They're out there every day, and all the 911 system out there every day. The quarter-cent sales tax, that's as needed in Allegheny County. It's money that a lot of people coming in the county spends, and they pay that. It ain't only just local people. You get a lot of benefits from that, and it's not a bad deal when you spend $100. It only costs you 25 cents. That's what it amounts to, and that adds up in a year's run for Allegheny County. And like Commissioner Prince said, we want to get it back on the ballot and try it one more time, but appreciate the citizens of the county are thinking about that. I guess that's all I have.
Can I make one point on that sales tax? You said 25 cents on $100, and it doesn't even apply to everything that you purchase. There are some things in groceries, food, in the grocery stores. Now, when you buy it in the restaurant, I understand that's different, but I just wanted to point that out to the public. There are some things it's not on.
Prescriptions is one of them.
Yeah, good remarks, sir.
Yes.
Food, prescription, gasoline.
It's already at the pump.
Okay. Well, anyway, we are requesting a closed session.
Mr. Evans had comments? Right past me.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
may I ask that we include staff, Drew, myself, April, along with Donna, in this closed session?
Okay, closed session request, General Statute 143-318.11.A/6, personnel.
Mr. Chairman, I would request that we modify that to include necessary staff.
Include April and Drew and the county manager.
Who's got to be there to take minutes anyway.
That's it. Got a motion and a second. We need a vote on that. All in favor, raise your right hand.
As long as we can make a detour getting there.
Let's go.